Welcome to the Spruce Creek Pilot's Guide, presented by the Spruce Creek Airport Authority. The purpose of this video is to show pilots the rules and standard operating procedures of how to fly into and out of the Spruce Creek fly-in. Spruce Creek is a private, non-towered airport exclusively for the use of residents and their invited guests. It is located under the outer shelf of Daytona's Class Charlie airspace. It is also very close to Daytona's Class Charlie surface area, which is operational 24/7. We are also just a couple of miles from New Smyrna Beach's Class Delta airspace, which is operational from 0700 to 2200 local time. Pilots should ensure that they do not violate any airspace on your arrival. As far as the specific rules and procedures for Spruce Creek, there's a wonderful document on the Spruce Creek website which explains all of the procedures in detail. The link is in the description below, and pilots are required to review it. I'll try to review some of the highlights of this overall procedure in this video. In addition, all residents are required to register the aircraft of their invited guests in advance at the SCPOA website, which is linked in the description below. First, let's talk about arrivals. As you approach the airport, keep in mind that the calm wind runway is 24, which should be used whenever the winds are less than 5 knots. In addition, straight-in approaches are discouraged. The most common way to arrive at Spruce Creek is VFR from the shoreline. Pilots need to be very cautious due to airspace restrictions and dense traffic. A standard 45 entry to runway 6 is not possible due to airspace constraints. Pilots need to be cautious not to violate Daytona Class Charlie surface area. Pilots are encouraged to fly south of the airport and enter a midfield 45 entry to runway 24 or a midfield crosswind entry to runway 6. Be sure to make standard radio calls as per FAA Advisory Circular 90-66. The other common arrival is from the west, where standard traffic patterns are also encouraged to runway 24. However, entries to runway 6 must be made from the south as a midfield crosswind entry. Another common arrival is from the southwest, where pilots can use the New Smyrna Speedway as a visual reference, which you can see here. From the Speedway, you can proceed to a standard pattern entry for either runway 6 or runway 24. Another approach that you may see or hear on the radio at Spruce Creek is the overhead brake. This is a military procedure to recover aircraft and is commonly used by formation flights. These formation flights will always give priority to non-formation pilots in the standard traffic pattern. Further explanation of formation flight operations is included in Section 3 of the procedures document on our website. If you're arriving IFR, you'll be under the control of Daytona Approach. Pilots can expect to be vectored a few miles southwest of the airport. As with every non-towered airport, you need to cancel your IFR flight plan in the air or on the ground via telephone at 386-226-3939. Pilots are encouraged to monitor CTAF as soon as practical due to the high volume of local traffic. Note that IFR traffic does not have priority over VFR traffic. Spruce Creek does have an RNAV 6 approach. However, this is a private approach for approved residents only. IFR approaches for visitors are not authorized. Now let's talk about ground operations. Before you land, it's crucial for you to review the taxi diagram. Spruce Creek has hundreds of hangar homes and miles of taxiways, so it's really important for you to know where you're going once you've landed. If you're parking at a residence hangar, be sure you understand how to get there. Your host should provide you with the specific taxi instructions to their hangar. If you're parking in the visitor tie-downs, these are located on Cessna Boulevard near the approach end of runway 6, which you can see in this diagram. Be sure not to park in the private tie-down areas on Beach Boulevard. These private tie-down spots are clearly marked with a red line. Aside from the runway, even the taxiways are busy at Spruce Creek. While aircraft do have the right of way, you may see golf carts, joggers, bikers, runners, etc. So it's really important for you to be alert whenever you're conducting any ground operations. When it's time to depart, be sure to use one of the 2 designated run-up areas, which you can see here. In addition, note that intersection departures are not authorized. There are 2 VFR departure routes that pilots should become familiar with. The first is the eastbound departure, which is almost straight out on runway 6 to the shoreline without encroaching on New Smyrna's Class Delta or Daytona's Surface Class Charlie. The second is the westbound departure, which uses a huge water tank as a visual reference, which you can see here. If you stay west of the tank, you will be clear of Daytona's Surface Class Charlie airspace and under the outer shelf of the Charlie airspace. All departures from Spruce Creek should fly runway heading until 500 feet AGL before proceeding on course for noise abatement purposes. Aside from the fixed-wing aircraft, there are also extensive helicopter operations at Spruce Creek that follow a unique procedure. All takeoffs and landings must be performed at the designated helicopter operating areas. Hover taxiing around the airport is not permitted except for takeoff and landing operations. Helicopters may not taxi to the fuel pumps or to the hangars. When departing, pilots should announce their liftoff on the CTAF frequency prior to pulling pitch. Taxi to the edge of the runway, look both ways, and make a second radio call announcing your direction of flight. All departures should follow the fixed-wing departure flight path, runway heading up to 500 feet AGL, then on course. All fixed-wing aircraft should exercise extreme caution near the helicopters due to rotor downwash. When arriving, helicopters should fly standard fixed-wing traffic patterns at 800 feet AGL. I hope this video helps, and more importantly, I hope you enjoy your time at Spruce Creek.